Hi guys, this is jasonnode.com and I'm here with the famous LG aka, which is also known as the phone that has little eyes at its front. We have two versions of the phone. We got the yellow one and we got the blue one, and LG aka is about to get a detailed review. This is a handset with eyes and with personality, and this model was launched in South Korea first in 2014, last fall, and then it came to Europe around the time of May. This handset is priced at $240 on Amazon.com, and now let's talk about the design. It measures 9.9mm in thickness, it weighs 135 grams, and it's very light in the user's hand. It's a bit big for a 5-inch phone at first sight, but in the end you'll find it quite light. It's made of plastic, and basically creaking plastic. Anytime you grip the phone you'll hear it creaking, and that's maybe a problem for some people. We got a dotted texture at the back. It feels very light, as I said, and we have excellent one-hand usage. We don't have any side buttons. The volume and on-off button are placed at the back, and as you can see, one-hand usage is absolutely no problem here. Each phone comes with a mascot, so this is the blue version. It comes with the mascot Soul. He's blue, he loves beer and music. He has an associated widget that shows him drinking beer at night, stumbling onto a pole, which you just saw. And this is his personality: regular eyes, which can be made to look to the left or to the right. At the top you can shake it, make him dizzy. This little guy here, as I said, this is called Soul, and he's a bit of a party person, likes music and beer. This one is yellow, it's called Eggy, and as you can see, he's angry, or apparently in love, as far as I know. So this little guy here may seem angry, but in fact he's in love, as far as I understood. You can make him look left, right or up. He has his very own screen once you partially remove this little shell, and this shell is another interesting aspect about the LG aka. Aside from triggering those cool little eyes, they protect the device, and it has a cool way of sliding onto the device, as you can see. So both for protection and for the sake of fun, these guys are Soul and Eggy. Eggy is in love and Soul is all about music. There's also Yo-Yo, which is pink, it's always on a diet, it's a female creature, and finally Wookie, which is white, cool and crazy. Okay, now let's see what we're dealing with here. LG also encourages that you will place stickers on this little shell. Stickers, drawings, whatever you want to personalize it even further. There's also a YOLO sticker in the package, and it's a very glossy lid made of plastic, as you can see, and you can also replace the back cover and this little side and change the personality of the device. Now let's analyze the design even further. At the front we have a very small earpiece here. We got a front camera, we got sensors, and there is a status LED here. We got a glossy facade, that's a bit of a fingerprint magnet, quite big bezels, and now at the back, this is the one that creaks when you touch it. We got the main camera here, and then we also have the LED flash right here. We got the on-off button here, and above it and below it there are the volume buttons. Keep in mind we also have a special mechanism for the camera. I'm talking about the laser autofocus mechanism that's probably embedded close to the LED flash right here. So camera, buttons and LED flash with the autofocus assist mechanism here. Of course you can remove the cover. It's made of plastic, easy to remove, very light, incredibly light, and a bit flimsy if you ask me. Below the cover you can find a removable battery and the micro SIM and micro SD card slot, which are overlapped and can only be accessed if you remove the battery. Let's put the cover back on. Of course the same things apply to the yellow version, just the color is different, otherwise it's exactly the same experience, only it makes different sounds when you remove the cover. Anyway, back to the device. We got the audio jack and microphone at the top, while at the bottom you can see what appear to be two speakers. In fact, one is a speaker and one is simply a grill for the microphone. We got also the micro USB port here. On the sides, nothing, because the buttons are at the back, and we have here a small lanyard hole on the left and nothing on the right side. So overall a pretty comfy design, very nice one-hand usage. It's a 5-inch phone after all, was to be expected, but the fact that it creaks may be a problem if you want better quality. Also, the mascots are pretty cute, and the whole appearing eyes thing may be funky for the kids and people who have playful lifestyles. Overall, we like the design, once again, aside from the creaking thing, and I like this little extra accessory made of plastic because it also protects the device, not only triggers those eyes. Okay, so let's put this on the side for now and get back to the phone and discuss its hardware capabilities. So up front we got a 5-inch IPS LCD screen with a resolution of 1280 over 720 pixels, while inside the phone you should be able to find a quad-core Snapdragon 400 processor with Cortex A7 cores. It's clocked at 1.2 GHz. The GPU available here is an Adreno 305. We also get 1.5 GB of RAM, 16 GB of storage, and a microSD card slot that supports up to 32 GB of extra storage. There's also 8 megapixel back camera with laser autofocus and a 2.1 megapixel camera for selfies. So 8 megapixel right here and 2.1 megapixels here. As far as the connectivity is concerned, this phone offers LTE category 4 plus Wi-Fi ABGN, GPS, GLONASS, Bluetooth 4.0, NFC, and micro USB 2.0. In the section we like to call others, we got accelerometer, proximity sensor, and probably also a brightness sensor. The battery available here is a lithium-ion 2460 mAh unit, and its performance, let's check it out. On paper we are promised 270 hours of standby or 8 hours and 20 minutes of talk time. Let's see how it did in our test. Our test involves HD video playback in a loop with Wi-Fi on and brightness of 50%. We achieved 9 hours and 19 minutes, which is quite impressive. Very good actually for a mid-range phone with a 720p screen. We even beat the OnePlus One. It scores 8 hours and 54 minutes, that one. We also beat the LG G4. It scores 8 hours and 55 minutes. And we beat the Galaxy A5 narrowly. That one scores 9 hours. However, the HTC One M8 beat us because it has 10 hours and 15 minutes of playback. We also did another battery test. It's called PC Mark, and it continuously tests the battery with various mundane tasks and brightness at 200 lux. So 6 hours and 22 minutes, which is also a good achievement. We beat the LG G4 that scores 5 hours and 90 minutes. We also beat the Huawei P8 and it's 5 hours and 31 minutes. Still we are below the one of the champions, the Galaxy S6, with its 7 hours and 6 minutes, but we're not doing bad at all. Overall, these are very good times. This phone has a very good battery. The charging is pretty much okay, 2 hours and 8 minutes. We're doing better than the HTC One M9 that requires 2 hours and 20 minutes, but we're doing worse than the LG G Flex 2 that requires 1 hour and 47 minutes. In the settings area, there are special options for the battery. Of course, you can see this graph, the patterns of usage, and then we got battery saver with a few sub options. You got the level at which to turn the battery on. We got some functionality to disable or enable, auto sync, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, vibrate on tap, brightness with a few levels here, screen timeout, and notification LED. All of them can be turned off if you want to save even more juice. Overall, a very good battery, since this is a mid-range phone after all. Now it's time to discuss the acoustics. We got a single speaker at the bottom in spite of having two grills, and the player available here is similar to the one we got on the LG G3. It's very minimal, as you can see, and it organizes stuff by songs, album, artist, or genres. So there are options that include finding a music video. You can also, so this is the page of the song. As you can see, you can find music video, set as ringtone, details, settings. You can show notification, set a sleep timer, play with audio effects like pitch and speed, and equalizer, but equalizer only when you have connected a headset. Okay, now it's time to play a song, and I have to mention that this player supports FLAC and WAV files. So let's listen to a tune, but before, let's turn up the volume. Okay, now some conclusions. We got a pretty loud experience here, a clear sound, an okay bass, and a pretty warm sound. Also nice voices in the songs that feature them. As far as the headphones go, we got a pair right here. Don't expect anything fancy. It's a pretty regular pair of plastic headphones. They have a tangling wire, a pretty old looking remote here. And these headphones are not very comfy, they don't sit well in the ear, they easily fall out of the ear, and still they're pretty loud, they offer a clear sound and a good bass, and this is how the headphones connect to the handset. And then once you do this, you are able to tweak the equalizer further. This is it. We got options like normal, pure surround, quad beat, bass booster, treble booster, vocal booster, and there's also something called custom with 7 channels to play with. Okay, so that's the experience. There's no FM radio that I know of, so let's remove the headphones and see what our decibel meter had to say about the speakers at the bottom. So in our decibel meter test, we achieved 86.4 decibels, which is quite good. We beat the LG G Flex 2 that has 82.9 decibels. We beat the iPhone 6 Plus that has 83.8 decibels, but still we are below the Galaxy S6 with its 89 decibels. You can mess with some settings related to the acoustics, quite a few of them. We got sound profile, volumes, quiet mode, to turn silent mode on and block LED notifications. You have ringtones that are varied for a handset that's the Soul, Eggy, White or the Pink type. Each of the 4 versions of the handset come with their very own ringtone. Notification sounds, vibration type, long lasting, rapid, standard, tick-tock, vibrate on top, sound effects, and finally message call voice notifications. That's all the acoustics are offering here on the LG AKA. Good acoustics, high volume, nothing to complain about. Now it's time to talk about the screen. This is an IPS LCD with a 5-inch diagonal and a resolution of 1280 over 720 pixels. The density here is 294 ppi, and you're going to be using the gallery as your video player. So let's do that. It has pretty generous codec support. We also have the Q slide option here. You can put video on top of other things while you're working on a note or checking your email or other things like that. And aside from that option, we also have screen ratio, subtitles, share, trim, and settings, including brightness. By the way, you can also zoom in while watching a video, which is a welcome option even on this small screen. Now let's see the actual viewing experience. There's a slight oversaturation here, the colors are a bit too vivid, the screen is pretty bright, contrast was surprisingly good, viewing angles are obviously wide, this is an IPS LCD after all, and blacks were reasonably deep. This is a good screen with RGB striped pixels, and more will be learned from our captures. This is the microscope shot. We used the microscope on this screen and it revealed its RGB striped pixels. Then we went to the lux meter and measured 350 lux units. This is very good for a mid-range, or better said good for a mid-range, let's not go there. We beat the LG G Flex 2 that has 266 lux. We also beat the Huawei P8, it has 346 lux, and the Asus Zenfone 2 323 lux, that's its value. Still, we scored below the Galaxy A5 that has 370 lux, and even below the Wiko Rainbow, a French phone that scores 424 lux. Of course, we also have special settings for the display. We got home screen. You can select the easy home for, I don't know, little children or the elderly. We got themes. We got wallpaper, screen swipe effect, allow home screen looping, and that's about it. We got lock screen options with widgets, contact for a lost phone, contact info on the screen, home touch buttons. If you want to change the button combo, you can do it here, and you can also add extra options as shown in this animation. Okay, then we got the font type, font size, brightness with an auto option, notification LED, auto rotate screen, screen timeout, smart screen, so the screen stays on when it detects your face, screen off effect, and finally daydream. Overall, a very good screen for a mid-range handset. It's crisp, it's bright, so what more can you want from it? Now we're in the camera area. 2.1 megapixel shooter for selfies, 8 megapixel shooter with LED flash and laser assisted autofocus, which means better focus in low light. This 8 megapixel shooter, it's time to put it to the test. As you can see, the time it takes to open up the camera app isn't the greatest in the world, not the greatest speed in the world, and the interface is basically the same one that we had on the LG G3, which means very minimalistic. You don't have exposure, ISO, white balance, you don't have those things. You can even opt for a more basic option like this, but let's see the options. We got options for the camera flash, front camera shortcut, only 2 modes, auto and panorama, and then the main settings. We got HDR, on, off, or auto. Got the resolution, which can be 8 megapixels, which stands for 3264 over 2448. You can go to 6 megapixels, 5 or 3. You can film in Full HD or HD. We got voice command options. You can say cheese, smile, kimchi, whiskey. We got a timer, a grill, and that's all the optional love you're getting on this handset. And then on the right side, we got a gallery shortcut, the video capture button, the shutter button, and the back button to exit the application. You can zoom up to 4x with a pretty fluid zoom, and the quality drop is not major here. The focus is quite fast. Even if you change focus fast, it changes reasonably, especially for a mid-range phone. Picture taking isn't that fast. Okay, so let's see the shot of this little guy, this little mascot. The quality is quite good, and you'll see more of the quality in the gallery we have prepared for you. In the meantime, if you're switching to the front camera, you will be able to see a beauty slider available right here that removes the wrinkles, spots, increases your eye size, and other nifty things when using your camera. Okay, as I promised, it's time for the gallery, taken on a pretty sunny day, so let's analyze that. So these pictures were taken at the end of June on a very sunny day, and they're looking pretty much okay. Here we go, this is the first shot, and this is the HDR version of it. Not much difference, both are pretty well lit up. However, in this shot you can clearly notice the difference between a regular shot and an HDR shot. Instead of lighting it up, because it was a very sunny day, it makes it more realistic and less lit. We have some flowers here and a pretty good level of detail, even if you start zooming in. Okay, colors are pretty good and realistic, the images are crisp and clear. Frankly speaking, they're less burnt than I expected. Usually when it's the summertime and you're taking shots of colorful things, they get burnt by the sun. Even when you zoom in, this shot of swan boats on a lake, you can see that the details are pretty good, and not only on this small screen but also on the PC, so good quality. This is the panorama, that's pretty wide. Its resolution is 15,936 pixels over 1,664 pixels, and it's both crisp and fast taken. Some more shots. Even the pictures where the sun was in front of us didn't cause any problems, so that's good. And HDR in action again, this time highlighting the darker areas of the shot. We got vivid colors here, good exposure and focus, also white balance, and not one of these many pictures was blurry or out of focus, which is always good. Realistic colors, but also vivid. And we got this nifty close-up of a dragon, highlighting an impressive amount of detail and excellent clarity and colors yet again. We also pulled some nice landscape shots, which you can see here, and even when zooming in, these trees show their leaves in a pretty nice way. And then the obligatory flower macros are here, once again with good colors and details. And the LG AKA seems to be handling pretty well the photo capture in my book. For a mid-ranger, I would say that these shots are quite good. We got this pink rose here with an excellent texture. Sometimes I feel that this 8 megapixel camera actually beats some of the 13 megapixel cameras on mid-range phones I have tested lately. I have even tried to play with the focus, so shot number 1 focusing on the rose, shot number 2 focusing on a fountain with a bit of bokeh effect, if I can say that. Especially the blues and the yellows look nice in these shots. The red may be a bit, but only a bit burnt, so keep that in mind. The blues and the yellows look the best, while the red may become slightly burnt. Overall, this camera is able to fight 13 megapixel shooters, which is a compliment. It can even take on the Galaxy S4 and the iPhone 5 if you really want a comparison. There is not one blurry pic, once again a compliment, and it's very good for a mid-ranger. In the video aspect, we got Full HD filming in MP4 format, 29 frames per second and 17 mega per second bitrate. This is the very first video. That's also here the acoustics. We got OK exposure change, pretty good acoustics. The resolution feels a bit lower than Full HD and the stabilization is kind of poor. Okay, and then we got the second video. It's crisper a bit. There are some microphone problems in the wind. The colors are quite good. Focus is also decent, and when zooming in, surprisingly, the quality stays pretty good. Okay, and then comes video number 3, which is filled with colors. It has good acoustics, some focus loss, but an excellent quality, especially for a mid-range phone with an 8 megapixel camera. The clouds are caught nicely and all the colors and exposure look great. Okay, and finally video number 4. It has okay focus and also pretty good exposure and colors. The quality is also good and even the stabilization is quite decent here. Acoustics are also good, so overall the filming aspect is okay on the LG aka. Once again, I don't feel that this handset is far from my very own iPhone 5, which is a compliment for this device. Now, as far as the editing goes, you'll get nothing but the stock experience from KitKat. If you want to do a bit of crop, rotate, tune image, apply some filters, some frames and other things like tilt, shift and things like that. Okay, enough about the camera. It's a good camera, you got that aspect. It's time to talk about the performance, and I'm going to start with the temperature. This is a thermometer that showed us 38.4 degrees Celsius after playing the game Riptide GP2 for 15 minutes, so no, there is no overheating here. As far as the web browser is concerned, let's access gsmdome.com. As you can see, it's not the fastest browser in the world, also not the slowest, but we got Chrome to lay back on. Smooth scrolling, this is the website in landscape. And now let's check out the virtual keyboard. This is it. Frankly speaking, it's a bit cramped. It doesn't make smart use of all the space. It could have been bigger, I mean the keys could have been bigger. It's probably the fourth of the numeric row. I would have ditched it for a special button for numbers. Anyway, it's quite a narrow keyboard. As far as the phone section is concerned, we're getting here functionality like speed dial, one-hand operation, and even Q slide, so you can minimize this window. And if you're wondering about the actual phone calls, well, got good signal, high volume, good clarity, and even some noise cancelling as far as I heard. Now it's time for the benchmarks, and rest assured we have quite a few of them. So in case you're wondering what handsets we compare the AKA with, the LG AKA goes against the Wiko Rainbow and against the Sony Xperia E4G. All three of them had quad-core processor. This one has a Snapdragon 400, the Wiko Rainbow has a MediaTek MT6582, and the Sony Xperia E4G has a 4-core MT6732. Those handsets have 1 GB of RAM, this has 1.5 GB. So in quadrant, we scored 8,764 points. We beat the Wiko Rainbow by about 3,000 points. We got beaten by the Sony Xperia E4G by about 2000 points. In Antutu, we had a pretty good score of 18,403, which was very close to the one of Wiko Rainbow, 18,828, and we totally got beaten by the Sony Xperia E4G and its 32,753. Then there's Nenamark, in which we got 56.7 frames per second, while the Wiko Rainbow had 52 frames, and the Sony Xperia E4G had an incredible 59.7 frames, probably because of the lower resolution. Then there's also Velamo, with a score of 1810, a bit underwhelming. In the browser test in Velamo, Wiko Rainbow had 2236 and Sony Xperia E4G had 2704 points, so both of them beat us for some reason. In 3D Mark, we scored the 2868 in the Ice Storm Extreme, we scored 5639 in the regular Ice Storm, and finally in Ice Storm Unlimited 4443. Wiko Rainbow had 2949 in this test, and the Sony Xperia E4G recorded a score of 5030 in the Ice Storm Extreme test, so as you can see, both of the other models scored fairly good. Now, as far as the Geekbench 3 score is concerned, we had 338 in the single core test and 1070 in the multi-core test, while the Wiko Rainbow had 351 and 1159, while the Sony Xperia E4G had 726 over 2167, so once again beaten. By the way, this processor right here, the Snapdragon 400, it's not a 64-bit unit and it's from 2013, so it's a bit old, and that can be felt especially when the device lags after you boot it up. In GFX we had 5.8 frames per second, while the Wiko Rainbow had 4.2, and the Xperia E4G was very close to 15 frames per second, which is pretty impressive. We also did a speed test that came out fine, 24 MB/s in download, 20 in upload, while the Wiko Rainbow had 23 and 19. And then came the browser tests. Browser Mark had a score of 1130, while Wiko Rainbow recorded 573 in this test, and the Xperia E4G had 718, so we beat both of them luckily. In the SunSpider test, the lower the better, we had 1425, the Wiko Rainbow beat us with 1376, and the Xperia E4G had 928, so it totally beat us. Then there's also Basemark with a pretty low score of 4216 in the medium quality test, while the Wiko Rainbow had around 5000 and the Xperia E4G an impressive 8000, so double this score almost. Overall, as you can see, the benchmarks are not very impressive here. This handset wins 2 out of 11 battles, although its rivals are theoretically less spec'd. They have lesser RAM and one of them has a lesser resolution. Anyway, it's all the fault of the CPU, and as you can see there is no lag right now, but if I have a few apps open at the same time and I just boot up the phone, lag will appear. In the meantime, games will run just fine here, like Riptide GP2. I'm betting you can play Asphalt 8 without a problem, any generation of FIFA, maybe some real racing as well. And you can tweak the experience in Riptide GP2 by turning up the details all the way to the max. Dynamic lighting and such. Responds well to commands. Nice speed sensation. Foamy water. That's pretty well rendered. As I said before, while my experience in this review didn't show any sign of lag, the first boot of the phone and also the moment when it has more apps open will trigger the lag, and you cannot avoid that. As far as the OS is concerned, let's see what we're dealing with here. This handset, the LG AKA, runs Android 4.4.2 KitKat with an interface that's customized by LG and reminds me a bit of the LG G3 experience. It's a flat UI, it's colorful but not glossy, and the icons are pretty flashy if you ask me. The multitasking looks something like this. As you can see, we got a bunch of thumbnails here. They're shown about 9 per window, which reminds me of the HTC Sense multitasking. You need to swipe them to the side to close them. I will have swiped them up if you ask me. but that's the rule you have to apply here. You can also clear them all if you want to. So that was multitasking, and then in the widget area you will find both stock and custom widgets like the calendar widget, of course widgets associated with the cute little aka characters, and a few more associated to other apps that we installed. If you keep an icon pressed, you can change its pictogram by choosing from a series of options and pressing a very tiny little icon that's very hard to get. Okay, here we go. These are the icons you can play with, so you can alter the appearance of an app. Okay, other than that, we got the drop down area that's very crowded, and if you add QSlide in the mix, it's even more crowded. So we got the obvious quick settings at the top, two sliders, one for brightness, one for the volume, notifications, and the shortcuts involve Quick Memo Plus, which you already know, allows you to draw on top of the screen, take a note, create your own little post-it using the screen, then the connectivity options, and then QSlide that allows you to trigger overlapping windows with small versions of apps, but no more than 2 at a time. So you can browse the web and make a phone call at the same time with small windows, but as I said, no more than 2 at a time. Other fixtures, well, you can also add more stuff to the quick settings area, quiet mode, LED, and other things, but let's remove QSlide because this area is crowded enough. Okay, so now let's go to the settings, and in the general section, in language and input, you also have a pointer speed, just in case you were wondering. Let's see what else we got here. Location, accounts and sync, cloud accessibility, one-handed operation, which allows you to tap the left arrow or the right arrow to adjust the position of the dial keypad. LG keyboard gets that as well, and the lock screen will also get that. Then we got the shortcut key. So basically you can turn your back volume buttons into shortcut keys. You can trigger Quick Memo Plus by pressing the volume up, or the camera by pressing the volume down even when the screen is off. Then we got security with the usual features, and we also have a guest mode, so you can allow another person to use your phone and only have access to certain apps. Of course, the other ones will be locked with a password, no code, or who knows what else. Then we got the gestures. You can snooze or stop the alarm by flipping the phone. We also have motion sensor calibration, silence calls by flipping the phone again, and I don't know if you know this, but you can double tap to wake the screen. Other than that, date and time, storage, battery, and smart cleaning that frees up some space and takes care of your experience here. Okay, 10 apps, default messaging, backup, reset, printing, and about phone. And now I have reached the section of the review dedicated to the AKA factor. So basically, if you want to change the experience of your phone, you simply have to change its cover. Right now we're using the LG AKA Soul version. Soul is this little guy here. He's blue, the case is blue, but we can totally change things if we switch the cover. That's one of the aspects that are available in the AKA series. So we have the yellow version here. As you can see, its interface is yellow, just like the character, and also the widget shown on the screen is unique. And check this out. This is our handset, the Soul version with blue, and once you place this cover on it, it will become the yellow version, which is associated to the Eggy mascot. The widget changes, everything changes, and you can apply this thing, and even the pair of eyes will change. There are no longer the big eyes, there are these angry eyes which supposedly are in love. Okay, so that's one of the AKA aspects here, and now let's see more. For starters, let's get back to the original setup. And see what other things you can do with these cute characters. Just for the sake of it, I'm going to be using this plasticky thing here. Okay, so we got the regular eyes associated to the Soul mascot. You can tap on these eyes to blink. You can also tap on them to wake them. Okay, other things you can do is swipe to the side or to the top or bottom to make them look in another direction. You can shake the screen to make the mascot dizzy. You can also cover the eyes and then remove your hand to play a game of hide and seek. If you put earphones, if you insert them into the special plug on the phone, you'll see that the character also gets his own earphones, so he's also listening to music like you. Other than that, once you're charging the battery, you'll see that the color of this part of the screen will change. When you're at 1%, it will be red. When you're at about 50%, it will be orange. When you're almost at the top, between 16 and 99%, it will be blue. And when it's charged, it will become green here at the top. And this area can also be linked to the weather. When it's very cold outside, you'll see an icy screen. When it's very hot, you'll see this little guy sweating with drops of sweat. If you pull gently, you'll notice a very nice animation here and a few notifications. You'll see notifications about your email, texts, and the images shown here can actually be changed from a special rotary section from your gallery. And this varies from one handset to the other. As you can see, different image here, different animation, and different notifications. Okay, the upper part can show more than just eyes. It can display the music player, an incoming phone call, and the alarm clock if it's time to get up. There's also a special widget on each phone. In the case of the Soul phone, we have the Soul character. He's walking around and drinking beer, and once you press the widget, you will reach the special LG AKA functionality. This widget is called Come In and it includes the snapshot feature. It allows you to take selfies with the mascot, a mascot that has been generated virtually within the app. So you can see it here. Of course, you also have the real thing. However, you can also use the other one. All you have to do is press that option and put the character in a designated area, and then you will scan it, insert it into the device memory, and you'll be able to use it as your virtual companion. We already have this one here, so there's no need to insert it. Anyway, you can take a picture. This little guy will be moving and dancing and making funny faces, and so it will be integrated into pictures. Of course, selfies are a predilection for this character. So that's the snapshot feature, and more functionality is available within this evolved widget. You can press this thing here, it will take you to YouTube, and it will show you a playlist of people playing with their LG AKA and a few ads. And then there's another shortcut that will lead you to an animation series with the cute characters from the LG AKA series. Apparently the fat pink cat has his own series, and each of the other guys has his own episode as well. Okay, so those were all the LG AKA features available on this phone. Another thing we're mentioning here is the clip tray. So let's say, for example, you're in the gallery, you're in an image, and you keep it pressed. As far as I know, you should be able to edit. Copy to clip tray is an option here, and when you're in the browser, you should also be able to copy something to the clip tray. Anyway, the clip tray is very generous. It can remember pics, phone numbers, links, music, video, and all sorts of stuff that you can add to your communication methods. Now it's that part of the review where we analyze the pre-installed apps list. This is the Google section with voice search, Gmail, Google itself, Google+, Play Books, Play Games, Drive, Photos, Hangouts, and Google Settings. Then we got the calculator. Then we got the calendar with the modern LG interface. And then Cell Broadcast, Chrome, Contacts, Downloads, Email, a File Manager. That takes a while to open up. Internet, there's also Google Maps. That looks quite fine on this screen. And then we got messaging, music, phone, Play Store, Quick Memo Plus, which is a familiar face. We've seen it on all the modern LG devices and those from a few years ago. We got all sorts of options for your pen, colors, tips, brushes, and all that. And you can add extra content, insert image, take photo, video, record. Anyway, you can create a multimedia note if you want to. Remote call service, LG Smart World, only working in some countries of the world. As you can see, the list is pretty limited. Then we got tasks, creating sort of an enhanced reminder. Think-free viewer, it opens up your documents and other files. Update center, voice recorder, weather, which can be linked to your special mascot, and then finally YouTube. And that's about it. Those are the pre-installed apps. I wouldn't say we got bloatware here, so That's good news. Now it's time for the verdict related to the LG AKA. We had the vast experience with the phone. We actually had two phones. As you saw throughout the review, we had the Soul phone and we had the Eggy phone, both of them with mascots with cute little eyes that were blinking. So the conclusion, on the pro side, we have this lid that protects the screen and nicely slides on top of it. Then we got the comfy phone. As I said, it's quite comfy to hold and use with a single hand. The battery is quite good, as you found out earlier in the review. This handset is both loud and bright. It has a loud volume and a bright screen. The camera is also pretty good for a mid-ranger, and its 8 megapixel shooter feels sometimes like a 13 megapixel one. And then we got those cute eyes, those funky eyes, and a little mascot that some children will love and even some adults. This is one of the few phones that has its own personality. On the con side, it's made of plastic, it creaks a lot. We got a crowded drop-down area with the notifications and such. It's quite pricey still for a mid-range phone that doesn't exactly stand out of the crowd unless you count the personality. And then we have a pretty old CPU from 2013. And finally, we only run KitKat, not Lollipop here. Maybe it would have been better with Lollipop. It's time for the grades. I'm going to go ahead and give this handset's design an 8.3 out of 10. For the hardware, an 8.7 out of 10, and for the operating system and user interface, a 9 out of 10. The final grade from gsno.com is 8.66 out of 10, and the popularity of the LG AKA is based mostly on marketing and its cuteness, rather than features. For children it's very nice, it will be in high demand, maybe also for the feminine public, but in the end we have a pretty old CPU, sometimes it lags, and also in the end you cannot sell a phone only through a cute little character, a mascot, and a sliding piece of plastic. It's pricey but funky, some people want funk in their lives, that's why it remains a solid mid-range phone. 8.66 out of 10 for the LG AKA, and frankly speaking, I expect new features to be released by LG in the future for this model. This is it from us, bye bye.